Hi, everyone. It's great that I can see you now, and good that you're all in good health, at least what I can see here on my screen and from the camera. Um, yeah, a lot has happened since we last talked to each other in person. And I think it's time we take stock of what we've seen in the last couple of months, what has happened in the interpretation and translation market. And today we will talk about marketing and self-promotion. I know that there are so many topics to discuss today about the COVID and how it impacted the translation industry. But actually, I think the topic of marketing is pretty relevant because it will help us to understand the way we can proceed in this new reality and the new norm, and some techniques possibly that will help us not only to survive, but even maybe, um, I dare say, to thrive. Let me introduce our participants of this session that we're hosting under the auspices of Khaustov International Competition. Now we have here the one and the only, the amazing Julia Poger, who's an AIC interpreter, and she's based in Paris, right? Your domicile is in Paris, but you're based in Brussels. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yep.
Yes. And Julia has been a standing jury member for Khaustov competition for many years.
That makes me sound so old.
No, you're, yeah, no.
No.
And we also have Grigoriy Khaustov, who's also a great interpreter, an amazing person, and he translates from French and English, and also does. He's a master of ceremonies, sometimes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Andrew. It's so good to see you, Julie. It's been a while since 2019, I guess. Last
It
time
was
we
last year, yes,
was
when we saw
last
each
year.
other. Yeah.
Uh, so confronting this COVID-19 pandemic, the only good thing that I see is actually being able to communicate with remotely with friends and colleagues far away. So now we are getting more and more used to it. And I know that, Julia, was it your idea to cover marketing versus promotion topic, right?
Actually, it wasn't my idea. It
Okay.
was it was Mark Len who came up with it, but I agreed wholeheartedly, especially when I heard who I got to talk to, because I think this will be a very good topic for the three of us.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to discuss. I don't think I've placed the mic right. Let me change that while you're discussing other things.
Oh,
I'll try
that's
to
that's
adjust the
fantastic.
camera and the
You're
view.
looking
Yeah.
good,
Thanks
and
a lot. You too. Thank you, Grisha.
I was sure,
probably
actually, I was sure he was going to talk about you first when he was going on the amazing, the fantastic, and so on, because I know you guys work together a lot. So,
Yeah, we
I
actually,
thought he was presenting himself
yeah,
actually.
yeah, I
well,
should
there
have.
was
This
that
is
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
that's the only thing
that's
I didn't do. I
self-promotion.
I haven't promoted myself yet. My name is Andrei Lesokhin, and I'm the interpreter. Hi. How
No,
are
no, no,
you?
no, 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 no. That's not
Hi,
the right way to do it.
hi.
The one, the only, because you know you're here on my screen. Andrew Lesokhin.
Actually, since I'm recording, I'm this way, so you should be pointing that way.
Actually, you're here, you're below for me.
Good. This is how easy to figure out your place in the modern
I think
world.
we deviate, colleagues. I'm sorry
Yeah.
I think we always
to,
do,
to, to
though.
interrupt. Yeah.
To the point. To the
Yes.
point. To the
To the
point.
point.
Marketing versus promotion. I don't like the way this
Self-promotion.
topic
No,
is
self-promotion.
self-promotion,
Self-promotion.
marketing
Yeah.
versus
Marketing versus
self-promotion.
self-promotion.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why do we have versus in between these two terms.
Well, the original title was going to be clever marketing versus blunt self-promotion, and I asked that the adjectives be removed because there is some self-promotion that isn't blunt, that isn't great, and there's some self-promotion that is blunt and is great, and yeah, and so on and so forth. So I figured the adjectives didn't add anything to it, and that was my only contribution to the title.
But can you make a distinction between marketing and self-promotion? I mean, as terms, since we're discussing that.
Sure. I could.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Be my
So
guest.
for me, self-promotion would be saying, look at me here. I mean, in a nice way. Okay. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm just giving the really easy way of understanding it. Here I am interpreting. Here are photographs of me interpreting. Here's recordings of me interpreting. Look at me. Look at how cool I am. And marketing for me is much more giving value to your clients that doesn't focus on me. So I'm giving value to my clients that doesn't focus on me, but only I could give that value. And so
That
therefore they would be pulled to me rather than me shoving myself in their face.
shoving yourself in the face of a customer seems like a very nice trick of marketing as well, because how else will the customer know that you're exactly the one offering that kind of value unless he sees it? And I think we have a couple of interesting examples here in the Russian market of simultaneous and consecutive interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
where some players in this market, if we use economic terms, manage to really hook up a customer, to find a good customer by doing exactly what you said, by self-promoting themselves quite aggressively, and then being able to keep the customer for life or for a pretty reasonable time. So
Well, for life, if that's anything like the guarantee on my sofa, which is a lifetime guarantee, it lasts about 7 years.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly the time frame. 7 years
This
is the lifetime
interpreter is
warranty.
broken. Bring me the new one.
Exactly.
This is what a lifetime
We need more.
guarantee
We
is.
need
I
more
exaggerate,
springs.
yes. And then,
But no, it's true, and it is one way of doing it. But I see them as very separate, partly because marketing for me is a long-term, very long-term action. It's something that the reason that you could introduce me the way you introduced me today, which I don't necessarily agree with, but the reason that you could do that is that I've been marketing myself for a long time. I've been writing articles of value on marketing and so on for years. I've been giving classes about it. I've been talking about it. I've been on the jury of cosigns and also been able to discuss it there. And I give value. And not once am I talking about my clients. Not once have I showed myself interpreting anywhere or discussed who I interpreted for, really, other than in my little bio for cosigns, so I have that, and that gets to a certain point where once it's been out there long enough, I'm now getting invitations from here, from there, and so on to talk about the future of interpreting, to talk about how to market in COVID times. I do apologize. That was a bad slip. In COVID times, and so I'm getting more interest because of that for things that I've been doing for years, where self-promotion is a very short-term thing. Ooh, I did the president. Yay, here's a picture of me with the president, right? And that's great until it's not the same. Okay, you guys have a different situation, but until it's not the same president, because we have shorter term limits and things, and people get voted in and out, and so on. And so it's not really that relevant. I mean, the fact that I've interpreted President Clinton is not that relevant to anybody anymore. And so showing a picture with me and Hillary, maybe, but it's not as much.
Since we started talking about that, and I've promised some tricks of the trade in the beginning, what makes your customer believe that you're exactly the person for them? What makes customers think that you will bring the value that they're seeking for? If you're not showing off with the president and hugging with famous people and celebrities and sticking that in their faces, yeah.
I mean, if I'm only showing photographs of me with the president, which I have to say is something that I could do because For example, the newspapers would take pictures, and then I could
Mhm.
take that picture and I could put it out there because it's already been published.
So
I
pictures
can't,
are okay, right? If you
not
have a
all
public,
pictures,
not all
not all
pictures. Okay.
pictures. No, and in fact, can I talk about my campaign?
Of course you can.
Yay. Okay, so I've started a campaign. I started it in January, but it was very quiet, and I've just really amped it up this month on posting photographs,
Mhm.
because far too often interpreters are posting photographs that show things like the agenda of the meeting or the delegates or
Mhm.
things that they really shouldn't be showing, because we do, we are, people who profess confidentiality for our clients. And they're just doing this because it's like, look at me in the booth, I'm so excited, and look at the goodie bag they gave me, and look at the, and you're giving away industrial information, right, to competitors. And so, but there are legitimate pictures that could be posted, like me with the president, for example, or you with, somebody that has said, yes, please put this online. And so I have a new campaign which says that if you want to post a photograph like that, that you get, if you have the permission of the client and so on, that you hashtag it client authorized.
Yeah, I've seen that on your Facebook page. Exactly.
Yes.
I was tempted to use that, but unfortunately, I don't have any pictures that customer authorized me to post. But actually,
but you could ask.
Yes, I could ask, and I would definitely get if I ask. Ask and thou shall receive. What
Exactly.
I'm thinking about in here is that basically what you're saying follows a very pretty simple logic, that you should basically observe the current legislation like GDPR and things like that, and you follow the rules that are out there and everybody else is following. So your code of ethics is no different from any other's code of ethics.
Except for that,
the
we
real?
had it. We've had it in IEC. We've had it for decades. Whereas GDPR came in a year or two ago, right? So we've had it for decades, and I
You
have
didn't have
never.
a hashtag.
We didn't have the hashtag, no. And the only reason I'm doing the hashtag now that I'm promoting it is because, let's say you get permission from your client, okay? And I'm sure you will, and you'll post it. And nobody knows that you have permission. So they think, ooh, Andrei's just posted something really interesting. I'm going to go and post it too. I'm going to go and post stuff just like it. But they won't ask the permission because they won't know that you did. So I figured if you've got a hashtag, then people will know that you did get permission from the people.
I know that Grisha was using a hashtag like that, a similar one, in his Facebook and Instagram posts. Can you share what you did in there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in 2018, actually, I came up with a hashtag permission granted.
Nice.
Under my professional pictures. And I stopped actually using it because I didn't see it really relevant in Russia. And why? Because I went asking for permission to the client's representative, saying that I want to post this, I want to post that. And I'm not, frankly speaking, I'm not working with government. Not often am I working with governmental officials or presidents. Never actually have I worked with presidents. And
but you have a couple of governors.
Most often I'm working with haircutters, with wine producers, with
much more interesting.
Yeah,
much more interesting.
Exactly, I agree totally.
I will not disagree with you on that.
But
and
see,
when I ask them,
those two,
and when I ask them, do you mind if I post this and that on Instagram? They were like, what? Yes, of course, because we have a media coverage. You have I have something like 700 followers. I'm not even a blogger, and even though I'm that little, they were very much happy. But knowing that I will promote, use their hashtags.
Which is some extra value that you're now offering them. And so the fact that you're asking them, you're using your hashtag and you're putting them in there, that's extra value.
So you're serving also as an advertising platform for them.
I'm bringing extra value for them by using their hashtags.
But also by using your one hashtag permission granted or client authorized, depending on which one you want to go with now in 2020.
We'll see which one gets the most number of mentions.
Let's
do a competition. Let's start it.
Let the competition begin.
Now, Everybody who's watching us right now, please, if you're tempted to post a picture or a video from an event, and it is allowed by your clients, please put a hashtag. Either the one suggested by Julia, can you say it again, please? Permission
Client
granted?
author. No, mine is client authorized.
Authorized, yes. Or Grisha's permission granted. And we will see which one wins. Okay, let's do a little challenge.
We could
We'll
try
count,
that.
Yeah, we can try that. Yeah, we'll count the votes. We'll count the hashtags, and we count the Instagram posts after.
We're going to have to, give a date. Give a date you're counting on.
For how long we'll be running that program until? Like,
at least until the end of cosigns. I mean, when is this going out?
Yeah,
when is it going out?
We're pretending it's real life, actually.
Yes, and so what day is it today? Because I've lost track of time. It's cosign. It's a quarantine. I've lost track of time.
I need some help in here from.
It's okay, but we can do it for a month. Let's say we'll do it until the end of October.
Until the end of October, exactly.
Okay.
I think this part will have to be cut.
Oh
no, guys! It's September 24th. September 24th, around 7:20 p.m. Moscow time.
Yes.
Exactly. To your point, Julia. Your promotion strategy that you've just mentioned. I mean, writing articles, being member of a jury, and so on and so forth. To my mind, didn't really advertise you as an interpreter, but as an expert.
Right.
So do you think it is the right way to market your interpreting services? Because you said that
that's true. There's right.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Can you see my point?
Yeah. But I have two businesses, obviously. I mean, I have the Know Your Worth business, where I'm teaching other interpreters and other people as well about marketing. And I've got the interpreting business. And for personal reasons, I haven't been advertising the interpreting business for a little while. However, my personal circumstances will be changing at the end of January when my sweetheart retires. And so then I'm going to start advertising a lot more. When I was in the States, I wrote articles and things in the States, and I had, masses of work, and I think my smallest number of days one year was 200, and that was because I chose to stop at 200 rather than, because I was getting offers for August and stuff. And I was just like, thank you, no, I'm going away, and New Year's. And I'm like, no, I go to Russia for New Year's, I can't miss Russia at New Year's.
No, of course not.
And so in the States it worked. But then when I came here, I'm working mainly for international organizations at the moment because of the circumstances that I'm living in. But private market will start coming next year. And so I've already started writing some articles, and they're already out. And I've also started a concerted marketing effort on LinkedIn. I don't know. I mean, I know you guys don't all have access to that, but it's a big deal out here. And so I'm taking a masterclass on how to use it better.
The thing is that we have a little market difference in Russia compared to the other countries. You know that the majority of our market is basically the private market, not the institutional market. That's more pronounced in Europe. In Europe, institutions, they play a bigger role for the interpreters, and they serve as a sort of a monopoly on the interpretation market. This is one thing that I was trying to this is the thing that I'm trying to argument, that when you have an organization like AIC, you basically have, well, let me put it this way, let me sound provocative, a monopoly, because they are representing this big institutional market where the interpreters don't really compete on the market terms, if you know what I mean, because marketing is more than just self-promotion, is more than just advertising. The marketing is everything, including price, including other competitive techniques, and
including how friendly you are with the chief interpreter.
Exactly.
Yes.
So some things that work well on the institutional market might not work that well on the private market.
Completely different. It's completely
different.
And quite frankly, the only work that I get within with international organizations are specifically, the only differences is how much you work as opposed to how little you work, but your prices are all going to be the same. So say we all work for the UN, our prices will always be the same. The length of sessions will always be the same. You can't change that. So you can't say, oh God, 3 hours for a session, it's far too long. You can't say that, or too short, because everybody works under the same rules, whether they're in IEC or not, because we collectively bargained that with the UN.
Yeah.
So.
And that leads to, it's not a conflict, it leads to an interesting situation in the market, because when you have the a price floor, the price that you cannot go below, or the terms that are the same for every interpreter, what you're competing with is basically your skills and expertise. You're not competing on price, you're not competing on the terms that you offer, you're competing.
You are competing a tiny, tiny bit on price, but what was making me laugh there.
Sorry.
So you said when you have a price floor that you can't go below, but what about going above? What about going above? I mean, you can't change it.
You can.
No, I know, but
I
find it interesting that you only mentioned going below, as opposed to you might be the expert on nuclear stuff they really need to have at the IEA.
And you're charging them, you want to charge them that
and
much.
You want to charge them more. Right, exactly.
So
it's a mindset thing, there.
Julia, do you need...
that when everybody is competing on the same price level, there are people that, well, let's
everything
put it this
else
way.
that sells it.
Yeah, everything else that sells it. Some people they know that they're not that good, and they know that they won't be chosen because they're not that good.
No, unless they do something else.
Unless they do something else.
Okay, and here we're not talking sexual favors. This is Me Too.
No.
Right? I'm just, but we're not. I'm just saying that right away so that nobody takes that the wrong way. That stays
exactly. I see what you mean. Yes, I know your point. I've seen a number of cases like that when people are just more friendly to their customer, when they offer some additional services, like showing them around the town that they arrived to, like organizing something extra, like a night in the theater or something else, just hailing a taxi. That's service, right? We're in the service business, let's be frank, right? And we have to have a service attitude to things to a certain extent. I'm not meaning like going... Yeah.
And it sounds so much better coming from a guy than from a girl, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I know.
Do you really need to market yourself as an interpreter if you can market yourself as a good person? That's the question.
And you are marketing yourself basically as a good person.
On the private market, though, or are you talking about in the institutional market?
About an institutional market. Because how do you market yourself if you work only with institutions?
You can't compete with terms. You can only compete with your skills.
Right. And no, but your skills, but not only your skills, because quite frankly, I know of interpreters who aren't as skilled as other interpreters, but who get more work because they're more accommodating, because they're always available, because, institutions have a different outlook on what they're looking for to hire. I mean, first of all, they want good people, obviously, which is why there are so many tests. You have to test to get into the EU or the UN or whatever, So you've done the test, but once you've done the test, you're a pencil. And every pencil is the same. So it doesn't matter which pencil they choose, right? So you could be really crappy, but have passed the test, or you could be really good and have passed the test, but suddenly you both passed the test and officially you're the same. So suddenly you're not, your skills don't matter at all.
Yeah, you become a commodity, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, in the sense that you're all seen to be the same. So if something doesn't take you out of the ordinary, then you don't, you're not marketing yourself. So I have had...
So it's like a tenure, basically. If you can pass the test and you can make it through, then you don't really have to worry about anything.
Well, you still do, because, for example, the EU would test however many people, and then they have no work, so then you don't get to come. Or they only want to hire people who are based in Brussels, so you don't get to come. Or so whatever. And I've gone through 3 or 4 chief interpreters in one institution already. And one of them just loved me and I worked all the time. And one of them didn't love me and I worked a few days a year. And one of, because we just, we're not friends. Whereas not friends like, let's go to dinner, but like we don't have things to talk about. We don't have anything in common. And so it all depends on the chief interpreter. But on the other hand, if you're in English booth with Russian and French, you have a bit more of leeway because there's so few of us. But how you market is really good. A really good example is this one interpreter I know who went to Geneva. Okay, and she wasn't your usual interpreter. She had a business before, so she understood what having a business and marketing and stuff meant. So she didn't live in Geneva. She had a family elsewhere, but she rented a room from somebody in Geneva. And she made the rounds personally to all of the chief interpreters from all of the organizations, introduced herself, told them what her strengths and were, told them that she was willing to come in if they could give her a couple of days notice so she could fly in from wherever she was, and slowly built up a clientele so that she's now living in Geneva and basically working all the time. And the family visits and she visits and so on. But that's what she had to do. Whereas other people who moved to Geneva and didn't do that didn't get nearly as much work. And certainly not as fast.
Self-promotion then?
That one would be more self-promotion, yeah.
Yeah, and it works as a marketing tool. So self-promotion can be a marketing
tool. But
tool.
not on social media. It's personal.
Not on social media. No,
it's personal.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't actually matter.
It's still a self-promotion. Yeah.
The personal part, I think the personal part makes a difference for me.
It does, yeah.
Because it's not me saying, look at me, I did this. It's me going in and saying, hello.
How can I be of help?
How can I be of help to you?
Exactly.
It's exactly. Again,
the only difference is that you show up at the porch of someone's of a chief interpreter's house, and you say, "It's me, and I can do this or that. These are my strengths, including, for instance, being presidential interpreter. Why not?" And the communication channel is different.
They're not their house, never their house, only their office. I would make an appointment.
I'm exaggerating, of course.
I'm not positive everybody would understand you were exaggerating.
And using social networks, you can sit on someone's table in his or her apartment. So in a way, using social networks as your self-promotion tool, because I don't think that marketing exists for interpreters. You cannot market yourself in Russia. You can only self-promote yourself.
Let's figure out the terms in here, because marketing is something bigger than just
self-promotion. Very good, and
marketing is a set of tricks and tools. Basically, marketing is a comprehensive system of things that you do.
Bear with me for a second.
It's your behavior, it's your values, it's what you do for the customer, it's how you market yourself, how you price yourself, and personal relations, like Julia said, building those also matters. But Grish, can I ask you a question? Because the two worlds that you represent are so completely different. You work exclusively almost for the private market, right? For the private customers, especially in the luxury segment, the luxury goods, perfumes and wine, which is an amazing market to be in. How do they know? Of course, the word of mouth does work, but imagine... somebody comes to you and you have to sell yourself, right? You have to prove to these guys that you're the one who is worthy of that job. You're the one who's right for them, and you're definitely of value to that customer. How do you communicate that? What's your communication strategy with customers like that?
I'm just trying to be a good human being, and it works extremely well in luxury industries, because they know that they sell all these companies perfume, alcohol, wine, hotels, you name it. They sell a dream to their final customers. And basically, I'm just going to say, I can help you with that, because when everything is beautiful in English, because they bringing their, for instance, global ambassador of, let's say, Hennessy Cognac in Russia, they pay him business class tickets. He stays in a 5-star hotel, and they need to hire a 5-star Russian voice. And I have my professional hashtag, your Russian voice, because I never present myself as an interpreter. Rarely I
And I
present
like
myself.
that. I like that hashtag a lot. I use it as an example and I tell
Thank
people
you
it's
very much.
copywritten. So, but
Uh,
it's really nice.
Have you noted
and
how he violated the rules that you just said about not naming the customers and asking
Yes,
for
yes,
permission before
exactly.
sharing any
Yeah.
private information? He just did
Mm-hmm.
that.
uh, I, I just gave an example. I said, let's say Hennessy Cognac. And this is
Sure, can't argue with that.
10,000 rubles for product placement that have just arrived on my my bank account.
You'll be
But
splitting that with us, right?
Of course, he
absolutely,
will.
Of course.
absolutely. Well, long story short, I'm I don't see the difference between promoting myself as an interpreter and promoting myself as a good human being that they can rely on. I will be on time. I will be, my outfit will fit the situation. I will not be in jeans for the evening reception and for the presentation. So
Thank
for me,
God.
self promotion has two facets, two sides of the same coin. Uh, Being a good human being and know your job. So I'm saying I'm your Russian voice because this very simple short sentence put me next to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I try to explain that, and we are doing the same job, and that roughly 80% of the audience don't speak English. They will not understand you, and I'm gonna do my best to convey the message, which is very important. And that's it. This is basically the way I present myself.
I'm interested. Does your 5-star voice differ from the voice that you have when you're just talking? And that can be in Russian. I mean, obviously not in English because you interpret mainly, as you were just
Into
saying,
Russian.
into Russian, right?
Yeah.
So does your 5-star interpreting voice differ from your regular interpreting voice or your regular conversational voice? Just wondering. Just wondering.
I didn't mean to say that my voice was 5-star one,
Okay.
but thank you. That's actually a good idea. I need to give it a thought.
No, Julie raises an interesting point here, and I agree with her that how do you convince them that you're a 5-star voice? I mean, how do they know that you're different from somebody else who can also come and claim that they're a 5-star voice? How do
I'm
they
not
know
the.
that?
I
You
don't.
said that you need to be a good human being. Here, I thought that we might rephrase that as being a professional, because that's, I think, is even more important than just being a good human being. I've seen a couple of good human beings who are lousy interpreters, but you're a great interpreter
Thank you.
because you're a professional. And what makes a professional? And how do you market yourself as a professional?
We should. We shall divide. I think hard skills from soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I love marketing myself or promoting myself based on soft skills because I'm not the best interpreter in Russia, far from that. Uh, I will never ever promote myself as the best interpreter for wine brands. That's not true. Maybe there are better ones, and definitely there are better ones on different subjects. But soft skills are everything that is related to your emotional intelligence, to your communication skills. And you can say they are a part of your professional skills. But
Communication outside the booth, you mean?
yeah,
Just
absolutely. Yeah,
talking
yeah.
to the client.
Just talking to the
Okay.
client, being on time, not messing with their legal department, sending all the papers on time. It's very important. Try to avoid conflicts. You have to you have to train your soft skill muscles. It's a must for a modern interpreter on the private market. And I will answering your question. If I were to advertise me as better than someone else, that's not going to be marketing or self-promotion. That will be direct competition, trying to put myself higher than anyone else.
That would be comparing yourself to somebody else, and you are incomparable.
But then there's a one.
Just let me finish.
Okay,
a couple of words about that. But, and I agree with Julia that I try to sell my value to the customer, that I'm gonna help him or her accomplish his or her project, because here is a definition from Investopedia. Marketing includes advertising, selling, and delivering products. In order to deliver, you need to sell. In order to sell, you need to advertise. That's a three-step process. And I can only advertise myself, because I am the service. I am the product. So I don't have to compare myself to anyone else. I don't know whether I'm not making myself clear.
You are. I have one quibble with it, which is that, and Andrei has been saying it as well. Yes, we are in a service industry, but we shouldn't be service providers. We cannot be service providers, because there's a difference between a service provider and an expert. A service provider is when the boss says, go do this, and you say, yes, sir, and you go off and you do it. And they say, all right, I need a consecutive interpreter for this conference, when quite frankly, simultaneous would work a lot better. Mm-hmm. Or I need whatever, and I want this, and I want this thing to happen this way, and it's wrong. It's just completely wrong. And if you're a service provider, you say, yes, sir, and you do it, and it falls apart, and they hate you, and they think interpreters are ridiculous, and they don't want to hire us again. If you're an expert, you say, tell me your goals. Tell me what you want to come out of this, and I will tell you how to do it the best way to serve your goals. And that's an expert. And they don't say, oh, I want you to get up there and do this thing. And you say, yes, I'll jump how high. You know, you say, I'm sorry, but jumping would probably destroy the equipment. So I'll be sitting here quietly. Thank you. So,
you're exactly right. And I do agree with your points. I would probably call these two types of providers differently. One would be the one that you call the service provider, would be probably an executor, just a simple doer, right? Whereas the other one would probably be, yes, an expert and a consultant and a helper and an assistant, whoever, meaning that the other person gives cares about the
I don't mind
outcome.
If you drop the F-bomb. I really don't.
No, we can't. We're live. There are like 500 people watching us.
5,000 to take her aim higher.
1,000, I'm sorry.
So basically, you do care. You do give a fuck, because that's what that's what differs you from a mere supplier, from a mere executor, a mere guy who does his job.
Exactly.
And yes, I do agree with you that there's a limit to which you can go. You can't just, the customer tells you jump. You say, okay, I will, but tell me why I need to jump. You want me to jump because you want this? Okay, I can do this, but without jumping. I can still sit in here in the comfortable environment of my room, and I can do the translation for you via my beautiful mic, and you can hear my voice from your computer and stuff like that. You are not trying to deliver or to do everything that the customer tells you to do. You're trying to get to the same goal, to the same objective, but providing him with means. Mm-hmm. Julia was right saying that he might not know everything. He might not be aware of the options available to him or her. And you're the one to tell him that these are the options. Mm-hmm. And if you're not one of those options, it's also okay to tell him that I'm sorry, but I am not the option that you're searching for. So there's a limit to,
these are not the droids you're looking for. Yes.
Yeah, these are not the
Let's agree to disagree. I can clearly see your point, Julie, here, and you're right to a certain extent. But sometimes big businesses are searching for doers, are searching for executors, and in order to understand what's your function in this very complicated machine of a project of your client, sometimes you need to understand their goals and values, but you need to feel the situation, because sometimes it's just better to go and do your job. Well,
Yeah.
unless it's like it's suicidal, unless they're gonna kill you, we're gonna do that. But
So there is a limit, and it's just that the limit is different for everyone, right? You're marking it as a suicidal. Somebody will say that I'm not going to work for that money, or I will not be doing this because it's outside my competence, and I don't really want to do that. I'm not trained, or I don't feel like being an expert in that field.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their own limits, and that's okay to talk about that and to grasp and to find Zopa. I wanted to use that word a lot. The zone of possible agreement, right? Where
Yeah.
your needs, well, the client's needs and your opportunities, your capabilities meet.
Yes.
And
sometimes the zone is like, it doesn't even meet ever.
yeah. Sometimes and it's okay to recognize that and to tell customer frankly that yes, you can do that, or no, you can't.
It's a power of no. It's a power of no. I agree with that. But sometimes, well, imagine a 20,000 people event. They've been producing it since, I don't know, since very long ago. Yeah. And they forgot about interpreting. They forgot. And
This
they call
year.
you. Well, doesn't matter. It's for sake of an example, Julia.
Okay.
And they forgot, and they call you and they say, we need you tomorrow, 10 a.m. on stage. Bring your best tuxedo. And you just come. You don't ask any questions. You just do your job. It can be a very solid foundation for further cooperation, because they have so much problems around it. Their 5-star singers are not arriving.
But that's a completely different situation. I mean, this is one where they're desperate for whatever reason, and it doesn't have to be that they forgot. It could be that they didn't know, or it could be whatever. COVID happens, the volcano erupts, whatever, and terrorist acts, who knows?
The usual stuff.
Wait a second, Andrei, I know that you know the name of this volcano. Thank you. Please proceed.
Was that
Julia.
in Russian, or was that
yes, it was in Russian. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to
translation
write
of
that
the
down.
volcano.
Sorry. Yeah.
But you know, that's one thing, and you can hear the desperation, in which case you just say, you know, oh, Grisha has a tuxedo, he could do it. Because I
do.
don't.
By the
Here
way,
you become a commodity. You're not offering any value apart from just
No,
being there and training.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because the value he's bringing is the fact that he's capable of doing this job. He has the damn tuxedo. Maybe you don't have the tuxedo.
and
right?
I
And
ask
all
no
the tux
questions.
shops are closed. Well, no, you still have to ask a few questions. Like, for example, where am I going?
Exactly.
And exactly
Fair
what
enough.
time? And who am I interpreting, just so that I know a name? You know, that kind of thing. You're still going to ask.
When I said that we're in the service business, I meant that we're providing the service, but we're also free to choose our own customers, right?
That's
and if the
true.
customer calls you the night before the gig and he's telling you to arrive at 10 a.m. and he wants a tuxedo on you, what are the chances, what are the odds that he will that easily forget about your payment, or he will that easily forget about the fact that he needs an interpreter next year, same time? So do you really want to be with this customer? Do you think that...
Yes, you do. Please, Julia.
Well, no, but one of the things is that, okay, for the payment, there's processes through which you do the billing, that you remind them, and so on and so forth, and that all gets done. But for next year, you don't just let them fall until next year and the thing happens again and then they call whoever. You keep in touch. You do the marketing. You do the
Absolutely.
long-term stuff. You do the letters. You do the articles that you send or whatever, and you send Christmas cards or whatever it is you send in Russia, and you know, and you keep in touch so that they remember you when it comes up again. You
So
don't just let it fall.
sometimes an assignment is just a foundation, and I completely agree, Julia, with you. And you start building their loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
these clients' loyalty, and you find them on social networks. I'm a big social network enthusiast, and you start sending them little messages, and most of my clients, they do have their own social profiles, and I comment on their events, and I like their events. Sometimes I really like their events because they're good, and I stay visible for them. This is the key.
Mm-hmm.
But unless they know you, and they know you and they know that you are this guy in a tuxedo
A
who
go-to
helped us,
person, yeah.
they don't even remember your name, believe me, unless you
Mr.
market yourself
Interpreter.
and you promote yourself,
But
Mr.
see, this
Interpreter.
is marketing. This is not
It
self-promoting.
is
This is the
marketing,
marketing
yes.
side. It's the
It's keeping
long distance
relationships
one.
alive, exactly, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I do think that you can become the expert that they look for in different ways. I mean, one of the ways when I was in Washington, so I worked there for 10 or so years, 14 years. Um, anytime I went out with the government, you know, with one of their delegates or whatever, the government didn't care if you handed out your business card, right? Thank God. This is finally, it's a client who doesn't care that you're competing, right? And
Under their noses.
so we would, well, I asked actually, it's all client authorized. And, and so if it was a big export,
Hashtag down
there you
below.
go,
Share
hashtag.
like, yep.
And if it was a big conference on export control, then, you know, and there were 100 people who attended this conference with the government, then I wrote to all of them afterwards.
Oh,
And if
wow.
you know, and if there was
That's
a
amazing, yeah.
delegation that was accompanied by somebody from the Russian embassy people all had my cards, because you don't know how your client is going to find you. Americans would call the Russian embassy to find a Russian interpreter because they had no idea what an agency was or that even interpreters existed.
Perfect. But that's the power of networking, and of course you can
Yes.
use it, definitely.
And
But
that's
when you're,
long term.
yeah, that's long term for sure.
Yeah.
You definitely can be there for them every time they need something linguistic. They want the stuff translated, some unfamiliar word, or consult where their kids can learn some English. And talking about the Russian situation here, so eventually they will remember you, and eventually they will call you for to an event or a gig. But I would still like to distinguish between the two things here. One being, well, one, you just being a great person, a go-to guy, someone nearby, someone to ask and to call in the good or bad times, and being a professional, an expert, a real expert in your field. You might not be as good as a guy, but you may be a great professional. And customers and clients will still choose you because what they want is a great event. They want themselves to be understood, or they want their message to be brought across. They want the terminology right. They might not even see you as a they don't really want you as a person. Yeah, they want you as an expert. So how do they know that you're right for them? I've seen a couple of cases where people were doing, yeah, they were really trying to walk an extra mile. They were really trying to do something a little bit on top of their usual offering, a cherry on the cake. But the actual offering was rotten, was sour. Um, and here we come to a conflict, because if you're not that good, but you're still trying to win over the customers, but by these methods, is it a good marketing?
Well, I've always said that if you improve your interpreting by 10%, you won't get more customers.
Mm-hmm.
even if all of your customers are your colleagues who are referring you and stuff. But if you improve your packaging by 10%, you will get more customers. And part of that problem is that so many of us are thinking, oh my God, I know how to take care of the person listening to me. They don't need me to be dressed up for that. It's hot out. It's disgustingly hot out right now. I'm going to wear a t-shirt and shorts because, I'm going to be just too hot when I get there. And, or the interpreter who bikes to work in the heat shows up just as the conference is starting, but in their bike clothes, sweaty, icky, gross. Have to go to the bathroom of whatever the venue is to change into their suit, has their sweaty, icky, gross, stinky stuff in their bag, in their booth with you, sitting next to you, and all the old coffee cups and stuff, but they showed up late, so you're the one who always has to start. This is not somebody I'm ever going to want to refer, I'm going to want to work with, and I'm actively going to try and not work with.
Even if they're great, even if they're good, even though if their interpreting is top notch, is 5-star.
Okay, if they smell, never. If they're, I have worked with massively passive aggressive colleagues, and no
Grisha,
perfume
you
either.
know what it means.
And no perfume either. But
oh, really?
No, really, because
yeah,
I can.
Well,
especially if it's one of those beautiful perfumes like Annick Goutal, and you've used mimosa, and they use actual mimosa pollen in there, and I'm allergic to hell. So there's no way I could sit in the booth with that, because I would get all, allergic and I'd have to leave. But what was I saying before the perfume? I've forgotten.
You were saying whether you would take a smelly person to be your booth partner if you translate as a
forgetting
god.
the smelly person. But I have worked with brilliant interpreters who are passive aggressive in the booth, who pull out every dirty trick in the book to make you look bad, who won't help you, who actively undermine you with the client, but they're brilliant. Yeah. And that person, if I could ring fence them from my client, I would put up with their passive aggressiveness because they'd be sucking up to me since I got them the job. But I'd be willing to put up with the passive aggressiveness if they were that good. But I would not put up with them if they stunk.
But you will be the facade. I mean, you will be the one talking to the customer and fencing them off from the customer. Yeah, and I did that a couple of times myself. So I can fully subscribe to what you're saying here. You will be doing the marketing, the things that you do well, and they will be doing the interpretation, the things that they do well.
And I'll be doing the marketing of the team as opposed to undermining the team.
Yeah, that's a good approach, actually. Yes, because you're there as one voice, and we hear quite a lot when some interpreters approach customers. Well, I know that that's not a common practice, and of course I'm speaking about just rare cases and exceptions, but there are even situations like that when an interpreter trying to look good in the eyes of a customer would approach a customer and say, listen, I am the one who was translating that part, hinting on the fact that he was the better one, he was the good one in the booth, trying to win over a customer. Does that sound like a self-promotion to you?
That sounds like really bad self-promotion and really horrible undermining of the profession.
Grisha, what would you say?
Sorry,
Julie, you working? Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking, because one of the things that we have to do is also not undermine interpreters as a whole with the client. And that's one of the ways that you would undermine us, because they're just going to say, it's just this snake pit. I don't want to get involved. So let's just do everything in English. So they're actively doing that.
I'm going to kill this guy. Really? There are things that you just can't do. It's
if you are the guy, if you realize for some reason that the guy sitting next to you in the booth just, they can't pull that. They're nothing. They're zero. What would you do then?
You mean they're a bad interpreter?
They're bad interpreters, yeah.
Okay.
And I brought him or her.
And you, for some reason, recommended, or you just happened to be in the same booth at the same time, or you brought that guy to the booth with you.
We did a presentation with Lena Zholtova on the Global Dialogue.
That's what I'm hinting at, yeah.
Yeah, 19. And we did the SWOT analysis. like we scratched it back basically on the back of an envelope, but still, and we analyzed strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat, whether we need to say to the client that this particular interpreter is doing a bad job, and analyzing two scenarios. One being this interpreter is with you in your booth, and another scenario was that this interpreter was in another booth that you were relaying from. And the results have shown that you need just to do your job and try to stay afloat. And it's
So no marketing in this event, right? For you, you will not be doing anything. You will just try
I
to
will
survive,
not be
and
doing. I will not be doing
you will take a
uh,
French leave off when it
any
finishes.
unconventional stuff. No, 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 no. I will give my business card. Maybe if I see it that it's worth doing that, but I would not do any I will not take any specific actions by
This is
saying he's not good. This is one thing you just cannot do, is to say that he's bad, she's bad,
Well, you will
she's
not be
not
saying
good.
that. You will be hinting at that. You will
no,
be
no, but it's the
making
No,
same thing. It's the
never,
same thing. You can't
never,
ever say it.
never,
No,
nudge,
ever.
nudge. Know what I mean?
Just
Know what I mean?
never,
Say no
never.
more. Say no.
never, never. It can.
Say no more, dear. Say
Say
no
no more.
more.
Say no more. But the thing is that our business is a very competitive business, and you both told that. We're businesses. We're all companies, right? Uh,
Mhm.
no man is an island. We're islands in a big sea. But we're competing, right? In the end of the day, we're all competing.
You mean the
And
three of us as well?
well, not necessarily, because there's also a concept of markets, of geographical marketplaces, and we're in the different geographical marketplaces,
Until
so
we're
it doesn't apply
remote, but yes.
until
We're
we're remote.
remote.
Yes, but there's some other
Very good
things.
point,
Yeah.
Julia.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, wouldn't that juxtaposition or this comparison work for you as a marketing tool? Wouldn't you be um, tempted to start doing it when talking to your customer?
What's the purpose?
Because we're competing. You're offering a different value than somebody else is offering,
No, that's
right?
the reason. What's the purpose?
The purpose is to get a job.
You had a job already.
Now you want to get another job.
Well, then you stay top of mind, the way Grisha was saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You do the social media stuff, you send them articles or whatever, you get them on your newsletter, whoever, whatever you do, but you stay top of mind. Whereas I almost guarantee you that if the other interpreter is not Grisha or you, then they won't be staying on top of mind. They'll just be hoping that they'll get it next year, and they'll be seeing this as their own client. But when their client goes with somebody else because they didn't show, they didn't send a Christmas card, they're not going to think of that.
But there will be no unusual or unconventional tools to use. That's
Yeah.
it. Just it. And moreover, you need to try to work as good as you can during this assignment, even maybe better than you regularly do, taking maybe extra shifts in order to stay at the relatively good level of the overall quality, because the booth is producing the quality, not you, not your partner. This is the booth that is working.
But you both know that you're competing right now in this very moment in time for the customer that's out there, right?
You
When you're
mean,
trying to, what Grisha was saying, that is, you're trying to work hard, you're taking an extra shift and stuff like that. So basically, you're just trying to prove that you're better than the person sitting next to you. Isn't that the thing?
No.
No, not at all.
This is why I was asking about the purpose, not the reason.
Answer your question, please, then.
Julia, I think that you understand where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already, okay, there are two scenarios that you posited. The first one is that I recommended this other person and they're doing a crap job, okay? First of all, I wouldn't do that, but otherwise, let's say it happened for whatever reason, the person has the flu and they can't hear half the time or whatever. My shifts would suddenly become 45 minutes long because I recommended this person, and the booth has a duty to serve the goal
deliver,
that
yeah.
the client was hiring us for.
Mm-hmm.
If I did not recommend this person, if this person was foisted upon me by somebody else, and this happens all the time too. I mean, I assume you guys work with people you don't
Of
even know.
course, yeah. If we're
I mean,
hired
I
by an
wasn't sure
agency,
how
yeah.
small the market was. So, yeah, and so you do that, and then it's like, it's my half hour, it's your half hour, and I will do what I can to help you if you are capable
So you're
of
trying
and
to
willing to
distance
take the
it, yeah.
help, i.e. writing numbers, getting
Mhm.
documents. I'm more than happy to do all that. And in fact, I insist on it from my partner as well. But I'm going to let them sink or swim during their half hour as they have to.
If someone from
As
the
they have
audience comes
to.
and knocks on the booth and says, "Guys, I want you to interpret all the time and let this guy, well, stand somewhere."
Chef d'équipe.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, that goes straight to the chef d'équipe. And if I happen to be the chef d'équipe at the time, I would say, I'm sorry, but if you want even half the time to be decent interpreting in your eyes, then you're going to have to let me have breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, at least this time, but we'll see what we can do about tomorrow replacing the person with somebody else. Or this afternoon, if it's in the morning. It depends. If I'm chef d'équipe and somebody is really not, like if somebody, let's say you hired me and I didn't ask ahead of time, which is never going to happen, and I didn't ask ahead of time, and it was a literature conference. Okay, there is no greater nightmare for me than having to hear a bad English translation of a Russian poem or book or whatever, and me having to interpret that back into Russian for the author. Okay, been there, done that, never
No
the hell
Never again.
Okay, so let's pretend that I didn't ask and you didn't tell me. And so I show up and it's the morning and it's like, oh, this is that. This is
Please,
exactly my
Julia,
notmare.
be my guest.
You're not saying the
well,
word.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm being recorded. Everybody knows. Yeah,
Why me
it's
being
my
recorded?
nightmare.
Just
But in any case, yeah, it's my nightmare. I would immediately look for somebody else. I would call Andrei, okay, because Grisha had hired me. So I would call Andrei and I'd say, Andrei, can you get here immediately? I will cover as much as I can, but I am crap at this and you can have the whole day's pay. Just get me the hell out of here. So I would do that because I would have asked the question, but I would be responsible enough to know that this is not something I can do a good job on. And I would immediately look for somebody to replace me that I thought was better than me. I would never ask somebody who is not better than me.
So that brings us to the overall concept of value, right? So what we started off with, that if you know that you're not good for the job, you will recommend somebody else, and it's okay.
Exactly.
Realizing that you're not in the capacity to do that. So it's also a value that you can offer. You can offer a substitute, or you can offer somebody else for the job.
And I have a
So you
question.
won't go an extra mile, or you won't always like respond to every command of your customer, right? Or every
I
desire.
don't respond to commands very well.
Well,
to give you a little example.
I wouldn't joke on that, sorry.
But to give you a tiny example, I was working with a delegation in the United States from the former Soviet Union, not saying where from or what job or anything, but they were all very full of themselves. And there was a definite head of delegation. You can only imagine how they were acting. And he barked orders at us. And I just looked at him and I asked him for the magic word.
Oh, God.
I did. And he's like,
"You mean now?"
I said,
"Do it now."
And I said, "Did your mother never teach you the magic word?" And he said, "Please." And I said, "Okay." And I went off and I did. But, until he said it, there was no, and I trained him. And for the rest of the week, that guy was politeness personified.
Nice story. How do you call that? Conditioning?
Yes. Training.
Right. Training.
Crash course. Politeness crash course. I have a question to you, my dear colleagues. Peer-to-peer marketing in interpreting is a huge thing in Russia, I think.
Everywhere.
Well, the only field in which I can see
now.
some marketing in Russia is peer-to-peer marketing. What's your point, Andrew? You keep asking us questions, which is a good thing, but you don't facilitate this meeting. So, I mean,
You
no,
mean?
moderate. Okay, I don't like the word moderator. You're not a facilitator.
Oh.
You're not a master of ceremony. This is what I want to say. I need an answer.
Between us three, you are the one. Yes, I know that.
But not today, not tonight. But not tonight, as in a good Depeche Mode song. What's a peer-to-peer marketing for you, or promotion in Russia? Who's your target
Oh.
audience? Will you
We just said
have?
that peer-to-peer. I mean, if I understand the term correctly, and please clarify if I'm wrong, peer-to-peer marketing means when you're advertising and marketing in front of your own colleagues. So you're
Absolutely.
creating a certain image within the market, right? So that everybody knows you by, well, as an expert in something. Here, I think what I told still holds true regarding showing your professionalism, and everything that you said before. It also applies in here. You just need to be a professional in a certain field. That's what peer-to-peer marketing within the interpreters community is. You have to be you have to be known as someone to go to for a luxury conference, or you have to be a person who everybody will go to for a nuclear conference or oil and gas conference. Yes,
Nuclear.
nuclear.
Me,
You are the one.
nuclear,
Okay.
No, no nuclear, no nuclear for me,
We're going
please.
to a nuclear conference, Grisha, tomorrow with you, and we'll be
Oh God!
translating
Oh my God!
some
Oh my
hard
God!
nuclear stuff, which I
Hard
love because I
nuclear.
started from that.
Hate that. Hate that.
Exactly, me too.
Yeah. I was doing rad waste. What were you doing?
I was removing the pits from warheads after the Soviet Union fell apart,
Isn't it
reshaping
nice?
them and storing them in storage facilities.
That's great. Underground?
Not saying.
No.
What channels will you be using for P2P
Yeah,
marketing in
I
Russia?
think you know them perfectly well, all the channels that we're using every day. These are our internal community chats, right? That's where you
Okay.
try to shine as much as you can, telling everybody that you're that good in something, a specific
See, but
topic or
that's
specific.
self-promotion, isn't it?
It is self-promotion, but
Yeah.
self-promotion, like it all, I believe, and that's my position. You can disagree with that. That self-promotion is a tool of marketing, is an instrument
I find
of
that
marketing.
promotion is a good tool,
Yeah.
but that, okay, if you say,
Yes, you
I'm
have
brilliant
good
at
promotion
nuclear,
and bad
right?
self-promotion.
Yeah, because if you say, I'm brilliant at nuclear, okay,
Mm,
you say that about you,
mm,
right?
mm,
And I can believe you or not, and okay, I'll
mm.
believe you because we just traded a couple of things that we did, so I understood it, and that was fine. But if I say, Andrei's brilliant at nuclear, that's
Yeah,
so
that
much
works much better.
more,
Exactly. Yeah,
that's so much more convincing. And
yeah,
I would prefer
I'm
that
with you
kind of
here. Yeah,
promotion if possible.
I'm with you here. Absolutely. But if nobody knows that you're good at something, you have to tell. At least a couple of
Voila.
people have to know, or you have
Or
to
you have
work
to
with them
work
in the
with
both.
them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's good that we can agree on some
It's like
things.
talking to myself here. So, but just to jump in for just a second, in January, that last time I was in the booth, it was at a meeting of the private market sector of AIC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are the interpreters who do work for the private market, not just for institutions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we actually had a discussion on social media and
Mm-hmm,
interpreters
mm-hmm,
and what
mm-hmm.
we should be doing and confidentiality and so on,
Mhm.
which is what gave rise in my head to the client authorized hashtag. Notice I'm saying it at least 5 times more than Grisha's saying his, which means it should get
Because
more
I'm not
promotion.
And we
self-promoting
remind
me.
our audience that you can still do the challenge we've announced in the beginning. We're selecting the hashtag of the month, and you can participate, and maybe you can get a discount to Julia Poger's brand new seminar, Know Your Worth.
Oh,
Am
I'm
I
not sure
offering
about
too
the
much?
discount. You might
Oh,
be,
sorry,
but we'll
sorry.
see. We'll see.
How much did she pay you for that?
But in any case, so we were talking and we realized, of course, that any marketing efforts that we do has to be aimed and targeted at different groups. So there's the colleague group who knows exactly what we do, right? They understand the fact that you can't work 24 hours alone on, straight without, any
Of course,
breaks or
yeah.
anything. They understand, that you're not going to do it for 10 rubles. They understand that you don't do a per minute rate. And so they know all of this stuff. So what they need to know is that you're good in certain areas. Whereas the people outside our colleagues, they don't know anything. And so you need to be marketing to them a completely different way, where you're not using your jargon, where you're not talking about, shifts or anything. You're just saying the project will include 3 interpreters or 2 interpreters, whatever, and it will include these kinds of details and stuff. You don't tell them why. You don't do any of this, and you can't then promote that without their authorization. Whereas with the colleagues, obviously colleagues know that you're not going to, unless you get the authorization to, but the colleagues are looking for you online to see if you're interpreting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the clients don't know to do that because they don't know where to find you in the first place.
Well, and that's called segmentation in different communication
well, that's a separate,
channels.
that's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue.
But we realized at that discussion that we can't be completely and utterly confidential. Like, I never talk about interpreting. I never say I work. I never say this, which is what the kernel of what AIC's confidentiality thing says, is that you just never say any of it.
You just never say, yeah.
But so we have to figure out a way of doing it in a way that's acceptable but doesn't give away the confidentiality. And so it was opening the door for AIC members to start using social media responsibly about what they're doing.
Have there been any specific attempts in drafting the rules of the games? So what can be done and what cannot be done? Are there any guidelines? It's just the...
It's all up in the air, but it's all, we have our ethical guidelines, which include full confidentiality, which means I can't have talked about the delegate who didn't say please, for example.
And Grisha couldn't have talked about Hennessy and stuff.
There you go. But if you notice, I didn't say what country they were from. I didn't say what industry they were from. I just said that they were visiting the US. So that, that's something that I can talk about that way. But no, I can't say, oh, it was this delegation from this country in this field, or whatever. And that was the head of all of the mining in Mongolia. I'm making that up entirely.
But don't you think that in the eyes of a customer, somebody who tells that, somebody who just crosses that thin line and does a little bit more than what is what you have allowed to yourself personally and internally, gets a competitive edge? Someone who doesn't completely play by the rules, someone who can...
they always have a competitive edge.
Yeah.
They always do. But I don't want that edge.
You don't want.
I don't want that edge.
And you're okay with the fact that somebody can outrun you just because they told more about the people they, brush shoulders with, or...
And the only comment that I could have from that is, oh, so you don't mind all of your information going out all over the internet afterwards. That's fine.
But that's you.
How courageous of you.
That's you talking to your peer, to your colleague. But imagine the same colleague on the net and you're competing on Facebook. Well, not competing. I'm telling that wrong. But he's all over the place, right? Imagine a conditional figure who's blaringly advertises himself or herself. And you're not that well seen. Everybody knows you as an expert, but you're not that in your face kind of communication.
Because I target. Because I'm not a person, like I said, I don't do everything. I won't do literature. Everybody listening, never ask me to do literature. Thank you. But it's, I don't do that. And let's pretend that one of my targets is marketing. So I'm gonna target marketing experts. I'm not gonna be on social media everywhere for everybody to read it. I'm gonna be where marketing experts are, or event professionals, or something else, which may not be somewhere you are. Because if you want to do nuclear, you're going to be where the nuclear people hang out, which is not where the event professionals hang out or the marketers, right? So I'm not going to see you and you're not going to see me, but we're both marketing our little hearts out to our ideal client.
So finding a good client is the key to marketing, which we just deduced from that conversation, right? So you have to find the right...
Having a goal.
Having
a goal. Because if you talk to everybody, you're not talking to anybody.
Nothing. Fair enough. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. How are we doing in terms of time?
It's over an hour now, I think.
Over an hour, yeah. So I think...
we could probably go on for another couple of hours.
Yeah, we can probably go.
Guys, it's been such a pleasure talking to you today, and I absolutely love that, and I'm feeling that there are plenty of stuff we can discuss, and there's so much more to talk about in this enormous field of marketing and self promotion. And there's no silver bullets. There's no
No, there
single answer
aren't.
to all questions. There's always a balance, a very thin line between what you can do, what you can't do, and you're
Or
the
what you
only
should do and what you
and what you
shouldn't do.
should and what you shouldn't.
Because you
Exactly,
can do
exactly.
anything, but you shouldn't do
Sure,
some
sure.
things.
Yeah, yeah. But you shouldn't.
May I,
That's right.
Andrew?
Yes, absolutely, Grisha. Yes, please. Sorry.
No. You're completely fine. I just want to draw some conclusions because discussion is good, but we need to have at least some sort of tangible outcome from it. I'll try to wrap up my position, and I expect you guys to do the same for
You.
your position, for me. Yeah, I'm always learning. And this conversation was very educational for me as well. But I'd like you to come up with 3 key advices to the young interpreters and maybe to some more mature interpreters in terms of marketing and slash or self-promotion. So I'm gonna go first. Let's limit it to three advices because otherwise we can go until 10 p.m. and everyone will fall asleep. Uh, so my first my first tip will be as follows: know your client. Before taking any actions, try to understand who's your client, what his or her purpose is, was, or will be. Second, try to speak their language, learn their language. And I'm not talking about the entire terminology of oil and gas, nuclear, or anything. There will always be words that will show you as a subject matter expert, even though you're not. But you can market yourself using these keywords. And I love because Julia is smiling.
It's yeah.
Just, I was well. I'm not going to talk about that. And my
Why? That's interesting. Please share.
because I will
Please
have
share.
to switch. I will have to switch into Russian for
That's
this
fine.
part.
I
That's
think that
fine.
most of our audience is Russian
Russian. Yeah.
I've
speaking.
been working for a major beauty company, and I was doing 5-day seminar for them when I say I was doing, I mean I was interpreting consecutively on stage, and
In a tux.
no, by the way, but respect to
The
the
one
dress
everybody
code.
buys
It
him
was
for,
all
yes.
black, and now, and by the way, I asked them beforehand what would be the dress code because no one told me, of course,
Of
and it was
course.
all black, and I
Mhm.
happened to have a black chineses, but not a black T-shirt, so I had to go and buy a T-shirt. Well, that's a completely different story. And then I can go all night, guys. I can go all night. И ко мне подходит представитель обучающихся, потому что это было обучение, и спрашивает, а вы как долго работаете в этой компании? Не с этой
Mhm.
компанией, а в этой компании. И
Mhm.
вот это, мне кажется, самая большая похвала для переводчика, который соблюдает мою
Mhm.
вторую маленькую подсказку for an interpreter who speaks his or her client's language. And
Yes.
the third tip, and the co-author of this tip is sitting right next to me. I don't know where he is right now. It's actually Andrei Lesokhin. You have to stay visible. You have to stay visible because your peers, your clients, they will easily forget about you in this ocean of information flooding their mailboxes, flooding their WhatsApp chats. You have to, in my humble opinion, this is one of the best survival strategies ever. You have to pop up once on Instagram, once on Facebook, sending them a letter because they are celebrating their company's 10th anniversary, or I don't know. So know your client, speak their language, and stay visible. This is my top 3 tips for you guys. Thank you very much for watching.
Please subscribe, share. The
Hashtag
link is down
your
below.
Russian voice.
Hashtag your Russian voice. And what's
Hashtag
the
your
other
Russian
one?
voice.
What's the other one? What was the
I'm not saying it because it's against mine.
yeah.
No, that's oh god, permission granted.
Permission granted, yes. Julia?
Well, he's taken a lot of mine. So I'm going to start
Sorry,
with...
someone had to take the
It's
lead.
okay. It's okay. Yes, well, you proposed it and then you went for it, so that's fine. First of all, I'd say more marketing, less self-promotion, because marketing things, that the long-term things that you're doing will stick around forever. You can have a profile on, I don't know, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. You can have your own website, but the more you do that shows your value, the more it will stick around and the more people will remember you or will think to recommend you. And then when you are talking directly to your client, as Grisha was saying, they can then go to your social media, they can go to your website, and they'll see you talking about the thing that Grisha recommended you for. So it's not so much the fact that you have it, that's how they're going to find you, but it is something that's going to be something to cement in their minds that yes, you are a specialist in this area. So I'm definitely pro the marketing side more. Anything that I've ever done self-promotion kind of comes up and then disappears. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas the other one just keeps growing and it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger. The second thing is I agree completely with what Grisha said about talking directly to your client, using their terminology, but what you need to do is talk to their problems, not to their industry in general. What's the problem that they're going through that you can solve? And that's really important. So you need to know what that is. And the only way you're going to know that is if you know, like you're a specialist in wine and you know that this year it was super hot in all of the wine growing areas. And in fact, England is now growing, it's starting to grow red wine, which is not very good, but the white wines are certainly rivaling French because it's gotten hotter in England. And so you know these things, which means now you've got a whole new set of wineries that you could market to. You're welcome. In England that now exist, that didn't exist before. So talk to their problems. And the third thing is keep it simple. Don't talk too much. In fact, you shouldn't be talking at all. You should be listening mostly. But when you do talk, and it should be maybe 1/10 of what they have to, of the time, you need to keep it really simple. Yes, I can do that. No, I can't. You don't have to explain why. I'm committed that day. Andrei would be great. Grisha would be great. Just keep it simple. They don't need to know the angst that you're going through. They don't need to know that, oh God, you're calling me now for tomorrow morning. I just wanted to sleep in tomorrow. They don't need to know all of that shit. I'm so sorry. I'm already committed tomorrow morning. They don't need to know that it's to your bed. They just need to know that you are not available. So keep it simple and you'll look much more professional. And thank you for having me. I want to hear yours now, Andrei.
But they're all the same. You don't think I will say something different from what we have already voiced. The first advice is being professional. That's what you said, and that's what Grisha said. Everything that we're discussing right now boils down to a very simple concept of professionalism. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to do it the right way, and you have to, well, even if you don't do it right, fake it until you make it. I mean, you have to sound professional, you have to behave professionally, and service orientation, but the good service, not the bad one. I mean, you have to offer something extra, yes, an additional value. Like you said, you have to help the customer reach their goals or solve their problems or deal with their issues. And you're a conduit to some of the things that they want to achieve. So you're not there because you're so special. You're there because you help them to do something. You're the drill that makes the hole in the wall, right? That usual example of why you're buying a drill. And yeah, so I fully agree, and I definitely subscribe to everything we discussed in here.
Wait.
And
I'm not the drill that makes the hole in the
well,
wall. I'm the
you're
tool
the
that
tool,
allows you,
yeah.
no, I'm the tool that allows you to then hang that beautiful painting. I'm
Or
I'm the
cover the
person,
stain, exactly,
there you
yeah.
go. I'm the person who allows you to live in a better atmosphere.
Exactly. So yeah, and I think we covered it all. Well, we covered that part of the story, but there's definitely so much more to discuss, and we hope that we can do that again, and maybe in person if that COVID situation will be beyond us one day, sooner or later. Better sooner than later. Um, I think we can wrap it up. What's your feeling? How do you feel about that? Yeah, I think it's a great end to a beautiful story. And thanks a lot for coming tonight. Thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts and your ideas, Grisha, Julia. It was lovely to have you, and subscribe if you want to learn more.
Do you
And
know what
share
And
do you know what I'm
remember,
missing?
client
and
authorized.
yes, we do have an ongoing hashtag challenge. So please, yeah,
Do I
rewind
know
the,
what I'm missing right now?
what, a glass of wine?
A glass of wine.
Exactly.
That
I'm
would
gonna grab
be
one.
a,
that
a
would be
glass
so
of
much fun.
wine shared from the same shared bottle, not just any glass of
Not
wine.
absolutely, and having
Yes.
you guys like in an old Russian joke
A
about
same
food.
bottle, properly sterilized, and everybody's in masks. So keep distance,
Stay healthy, still stay
stay
safe.
healthy,
Stay
and stay
healthy.
safe. Guys, see you. Bye
See
for
you.
now.
Bye
Bye
bye.
for now.